welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing a little bit about my fertility journey. I have seen a reproductive specialist recently and gained some information about issues, I guess. So if you're new here, I've had 4 miscarriages in 3 consecutive. The last pregnancy ended in beginning of December. So we're a couple months out from that now, and I've done some stuff since that time. I've kind of regrouped and grieved and done all that stuff, and now I am kind of taking it into my own hands. I just wanted to know that I did everything I could. I have 2 children, and my husband and I would like more, and so yeah, we're going to give this another go, but in a very strategic way. Just as a disclaimer, I am not a doctor. Well, I am a doctor, but I'm not that type of specialist. So this is literally just my own experience with this, and I thought maybe if somebody had similar history, similar symptoms, then maybe this could help them, because I know going to a reproductive specialist can be really expensive. I had started with this new practice in my area. Like, a lot of my friends have used this practice to have their babies and love it. What I don't love about this type of structure is you're never seeing the same person. Like, they have a set number of doctors, and you're supposed to go and see them, different ones at your different visits, so that hopefully on the day of labor, when you go into labor, you're going to have already met that person at least once. So I don't love that model, but there is no single practitioner OB in my area, which is what I had with my daughter, my first pregnancy, and that I like that kind of model, because you kind of get to know that one person, and you know that they're gonna be the one to be there on the day of. So anyway, I was new to this practice. They knew my history of recurrent pregnancy loss. I had 2 in a row at that point, and I had 3 overall. That was my 6th pregnancy, and with 2 living children. And I specifically inquired about the use of progesterone in early pregnancy to support, the pregnancy, because I have had friends who've used that, or who have been prescribed that just to help support the pregnancy. And that was kind of brushed off, no, that's not a thing here. I had told them my symptoms have worsened in recent years. I have some kind of recurring symptoms that occur only during pregnancy, or mostly during pregnancy. They, again, kind of brushed it off, you're young, you're healthy, you've had 2 successful pregnancies, everything's fine. I was pregnant when I went to them, so I was already 6.5 weeks or so when I first consulted with them. And I had an early ultrasound done then, everything looked great. So went on my merry way, and then toward the end of my first trimester, had a miscarriage. Since that time, this is what I've done on my own. I sought out an updated physical with, primary care physician, just to get everything checked out, a once over. Everything looked fine. I had updated blood work done, and that was including a comprehensive metabolic panel, a lipid panel, as well as a thyroid panel, and that all came back normal, which I was actually kind of surprised. I was suspecting, given my symptoms, I was actually kind of questioning the thyroid stuff a little bit, because I know a lot of women can have trouble with that. But that all came back normal, which is good. I'm also self-monitoring my blood glucose levels. That's to include fasting, as well as 1 hour and sometimes 2 hour postprandial meals, just to kind of see. So I'm not doing it every meal, and I'm not necessarily doing it every day, but just to kind of have an idea what I'm at non-pregnant, because I've had a history of glucose intolerance, or resistance, I guess, in the past, and especially during pregnancy, which I'm not pregnant now. I've cleaned up my diet pretty significantly. It's not it was terrible, but it wasn't super clean either. So now I'm being way more strict with myself, not from a caloric standpoint, I'm not trying to lose weight, but I am trying to eat whole food, plant-based, less processed, less sugar, all of that. And I'm exercising consistently, which I was not doing this past pregnancy, which I haven't been doing in the past year, on a consistent basis. So I'm exercising minimum of 4 times a week, to include, but not necessarily limited to, cardio, so elliptical, treadmill, cycling, and Pilates and/or yoga. And usually every workout, some variation of that. And I'm also tracking my cycle. So that's to include an ovulation, kit indicator, as well as doing basal temperature monitoring. And these are the things that I feel I can control. I want to rule out if there was something to rule out, and that's why I wanted to get a full kind of checkup, and as well as blood work done. And this is how I feel best moving forward, because if we were to try again, if we were to conceive again, I want to know that I did everything in my power to improve chances of a successful pregnancy. Okay, so my consultation with the reproductive specialist, it was all done via Zoom. I've never stepped foot in their office. This was also a place that was recommended by several friends who have gone through different fertility struggles. Like, we reviewed my fertility history. We reviewed my current health and symptoms. We discussed like possible early pregnancy options, which certainly does include progesterone if in certain cases. I don't know. So the other practice kind of just poo-pooed it off. They're like, no, that's not really like a thing. And if you're gonna miscarry, you're gonna miscarry. It's like nothing can prevent that. And I get that. The specialist was like, well, if there's something wrong with the pregnancy, if the embryo, if there's some kind of abnormality, using progesterone is definitely not going to fix that. It's not going to anything. But there's some research, I guess, that says if it's a normal embryo, normal pregnancy, then having a little supplement of natural progesterone hormone can help support that early pregnancy stage. So I know it's a little bit controversial, but it's also my understanding of it from this specialist is that it's it won't hurt either. So it's not going to help if it's something that can't be helped, but it also won't hurt. But they won't do that unless they check your natural progesterone level first. We're going to test for anemia. We're going to do a blood draw to see what my A1C levels are, which I will be very interested to know, because being Asian, having a history of slight glucose intolerance from past pregnancies. So with my daughter, my first pregnancy, I was 29 years old, 30 years old when I had her. I had failed the 1 hour glucose challenge test and I passed the 3 hour. So I wasn't technically gestationally diabetic or anything, but I was also very careful because my physician at that time was a younger Asian woman, serious, but I appreciate that type of interaction, bedside manner. And she was like, listen, you're small, you have a small frame, don't gain too much weight. And she's like, I know your test, you did pass the test, but just don't go crazy. So I appreciate that, and I really was careful, and I think that helped me have a good delivery. And she was 7 pounds 6 ounces, my daughter. And then with my son, whom I had here since we've moved, I opted out of all of the glucose testing because I figured I was gonna fail it, and I just did self-monitoring, diet, exercise, glucose testing at home. And he was 8 pounds 3 ounces, which was totally normal. And I was having additional ultrasounds toward the end just to monitor his size and make sure that it wasn't a problem for me. So anyway, blood draw for the A1C levels, and then also a blood draw to see what my natural progesterone levels are. And apparently that has to happen after ovulation occurs in the cycle. I'm also gonna have a Holter monitor at some point soon, and that's to test for my abnormal heart rhythms. And this is something that this is one of the symptoms I had mentioned to the first OB practice. I have this dysrhythmia that happens pretty regularly during pregnancy. But this last pregnancy, when I was seeing them, I was it's really persistent, and they didn't seem concerned about it. Again, they're you're young, you're healthy, you've had 2 healthy pregnancies. That's kind of what they were all basing it on. What are the chances, you're gonna be fine, you've already done this twice, it's been normal, and basically you're young enough. And which obviously 36 is not crazy young in having baby's world. So a Holter monitor, all else fails, if I don't conceive in the next cycle, or if I were to conceive and have a miscarriage, then they suggested to have a pelvic sonogram. And they suggested that now. I could do that now. I'm gonna hold off on that one because even they said, they're well, the chances of that yielding any kind of abnormal result is not as good for you because you've had 2 successful pregnancies. This is the specialist talking. And I was well, let me save myself whatever it is, probably I don't know, $500 or so just to have that done. I'm gonna hold off on that one, but that was a suggestion that I could do just to kind of check off all of our boxes. So that's kind of in a nutshell what is going on. So what I'm doing on my own, as well as what the reproductive specialist had said. And to wrap it all up, here's probably the takeaway. If you're in a similar boat as me and you're considering consulting with someone, I think it was really valuable because, yeah, I'm gonna get those additional levels checked out, which my primary care hadn't really thought to do because I'm not diabetic. So why would I have an A1C done? And they're not checking for hormone levels in that type of regular blood draw. But so I think those things are helpful, and they will give some information. So either it'll be normal, and that's good to check that off, or it'll be not normal, and that's also good to look into. Basically, the way it ended was it's very well possible that, you know, you had an unlucky streak there. You've had 4 miscarriages, you've had 3 in a row, and you've had some successful pregnancies in there. So it could be that this was just all for, you know, just unlucky string of events, and that there's nothing really anybody can do about it. And I knew that going in. In the end, it still makes me feel a little bit better that I'm doing everything that I can to increase chances of a successful pregnancy. That's what's going on. I thought I would share this in case anybody else has a similar thing going on, has had similar history. Yeah, and maybe I'll update again. I don't really know. We'll see how things go and how I feel about the process, but I thought I would share this now. I'm also going to put it together in like a quick blog post in case anybody wants to reference any of the things that I mentioned. They can just kind of scroll through a blog post instead of having to like try to look through a video, because I know that can be annoying. You can find that at mynewenglandsoul.com. I'll try to do that with any kind of video that I have any informational stuff to include in it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.